You disgust me, Aisha. Look at you, 17 and pregnant. You've ruined this family's name forever. That was my mother's voice, echoing through her small sitting room in Surreal like thunder. Plates clattered on the table. My uncle stopped mid-bite. My aunt hissed and whispered to the cousin beside her. My father just sat still, eyes fixed on his bowl of jollof rice, refusing to look at me. I wanted the floor to open and swallow me whole. My hands trembled as I clutched the edge of my wrapper, tried to hold myself together. My baby bump was barely showing, but it was enough to betray me. I was 17, scared, and pregnant by a man who had already stopped taking my calls. What would you do if your own mother said this to you? I want you watching this right now to tell me in the comments. Hit like if you've ever felt rejected by your own family. My mother's words cut deeper than any slap ever could. Get out of my house, she spat. Since you know how to open your legs for men, go and live with them. The room went dead silent. The ceiling fan whirred above us, slicing through the heavy air. My heart pounded in my chest. I looked at my father, pleading silently for help, but he only sighed and said, "You heard your mother. Go." The betrayal burned. All I could manage was a whisper, "Daddy, please." But he didn't move. That was the night I was thrown out of my home. The night my life ended, or so I thought. The streets of Lagos at night have a way of swallowing people whole. The noise, the honking danfos, the smell of roasted corn, it all blurred together as I dragged my small nylon bag down Ojalegba Road. I had nowhere to go. No money. No phone. Just shame. Tund, the man who promised he loved me, was nowhere to be found. When I called him from a borrowed phone earlier that day, he laughed. "You think I'll marry a child like you? Aisha, please don't make me laugh. My parents will never allow that nonsense." My world crumbled. I was carrying his child, and now I was alone. I slept under a shed near the market that night. The cold concrete pressed against my back, my tears soaking the thin wrapper I used as cover. Around me, the voices of street traders and night hawkers faded one by one until only the hum of generators remained. I stared at the stars above the city haze and whispered, "God, if you're real, please don't let me die like this." But God didn't answer. Not yet. Instead, hunger answered first. By morning, I was dizzy from lack of sleep and food. A woman selling pap near the market watched me from afar. Her name was Mama Esther. I would later learn, the woman who changed my life in ways I could never have imagined. "Small girl, come here," she said that morning, voice firm but kind. "Why are you sitting there like a lost chicken?" I hesitated, too ashamed to speak. "I have nowhere to go," I finally whispered. She studied me for a long moment, then said, "You look like someone who has been through hell. Come, eat first." That bowl of pap and Accra tasted like hope. For the first time in days, I felt a flicker of life inside me that wasn't just fear. Mama Esther didn't ask too many questions. She just said, "If you want to work, I can use help washing plates." And that's how it began. My second life. But Lagos is not kind to girls like me. Each day brought new whispers, new looks of pity. The market women gossiped loudly whenever I passed. "That's the girl that got Belle for a married man." "No," she said, "he's a student." A beg. Shame no day catch this kind people again. I tried to ignore them. I focused on helping Mama Esther at her stall, saving every naira she paid me. But at night, when I lay on the mat in her small one-room apartment, I'd cry silently. My dreams of finishing school, of making my parents proud, all gone. One evening, while I was scrubbing plates, Mama Esther looked at me and said quietly, "You know, life will break you if you let it. But sometimes it's those same cracks that let the light in." I didn't understand her then, but those words stayed with me. Months passed. My belly grew heavy, and the day of delivery came. It was painful, messy, terrifying. But when I heard my baby girl cry for the first time, I felt something fierce rise inside me, a reason to fight. I named her Amani, meaning peace. Still, even peace didn't stop the world from judging me. My mother refused to see me. My old classmates crossed the road when they spotted me at Balagan Market. I was the disgrace they whispered about. But inside that shame, a seed was growing, one that would one day make me the first millionaire in my village. The first spark of that seed came one humid evening as I watched Mama Esther negotiate fiercely with a supplier. Her strength, her fearlessness, it stirred something in me. I began to wonder, what if I could start something too? Something small. What are you doing here, Tund? I could barely keep my voice steady. My heart thudded so hard. I was afraid Mama Esther might hear it. He looked me up and down, his lips curling into a smirk. So this is what you've become? A market woman? I almost didn't recognize you, Aisha. The way you're smelling of smoke and fried akara. Ah, his words stung more than I wanted to admit. I tried to focus on the pot of pap boiling behind me, pretending not to care. But deep down, the pain was fresh, the kind that never really healed. Mama Esther's voice cut through the tension. Who be this one-way day, talk like Sam never chopped disappointment before, she said sharply. Tun turned to her, raising a brow. Madam, this is between me and my, he stopped smirking, old friend. Mama Esther folded her arms. Old friend, you say? You look like a man who brings bad news. Talk fast and go. I wish the ground would open up. People were already watching, customers, traders, neighbors. Lagos markets love drama, and I was becoming their evening entertainment. Tun leaned closer. Aisha, I came because I heard you had a baby. And listen, you can't go around telling people I'm the father. I'm getting married soon, and I won't let your lies destroy my future. My mouth went dry. Lies? I whispered. You think I wanted to be pregnant? You promised. He cut me off with a cold laugh. I promised nothing. You were desperate to trap me. Now you want to ruin my life? Never. Every word was a dagger. I could feel the eyes of everyone around me. Mama Esther, the customers, the gossiping women at the pepper stall next door. Their whispers grew louder. Now the small girl wake it bell. Ah, the Papa Don show. Oh. Before I could say another word, Tun pulled a few crumpled notes from his wallet and tossed them on the table. Take this and stop calling my name. That's all you'll ever get from me. Mama Esther's face darkened. You're a disgrace, she spat. Collect your money and leave this place before I pour this hot pap on your head. Tun glared at her, then at me. Enjoy your poverty, he sneered, turning to leave. As he walked away, I felt something inside me break, but it wasn't weakness this time. It was anger. Hot, burning anger. That night, I sat outside the shop long after the market had closed. The lantern flickered weakly beside me as I stared at the few Naira notes Tun had thrown. I wanted to burn them. I wanted to scream, but I had a baby asleep inside. So instead, I cried quietly, letting the tears fall into my hands. Mama Esther came out after a while, wiping her hands on her wrapper. She sat beside me. Don't let that boy's words define you, she said gently. Men like that, they vanish when you need them, then reappear to remind you of your pain. I sniffed, swallowing hard. Maybe everyone's right, Mama. Maybe I really did ruin my life. She shook her head. No, you just started it differently. Sometimes rejection is redirection. You'll see. Those words planted something in me, a seed I didn't yet understand. The following week, I returned to work. Every time someone glanced at me too long, I felt the shame crawl back up my neck. But then I'd look at Amani's tiny face, and the fear would fade. She was the only reason I kept going. One afternoon, a customer came to buy pap in bulk. She was a tall, elegant woman with braided hair and soft perfume that smelled like money. As I served her, she smiled at me. You have such beautiful hands, she said. You should be doing something better than this. Her words shocked me. Better? Yes, she said. Have you ever thought of learning a trade? Tailoring, maybe? I own a small training center not far from here. We take girls like you, single mothers who want a second chance. Something inside me stirred. For the first time in a long while, I felt seen. I took her card and read the name aloud. Elite Hands Fashion Academy. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about it. Could I really start again? Could I learn a skill, build a future, maybe even make something of myself? But fear kept whispering, you're too young, too poor, too ruined. Still, the next morning, I made up my mind. I would go. Well, I told Mama Esther, she smiled proudly. Go, my daughter. Don't let shame cage you. Use your pain as fuel. So, I took the little money I'd saved and enrolled. It wasn't easy. Between taking care of Amani, working at the stall, and attending classes, my body barely rested. There were nights I'd cry while sewing because my hands ached too much to hold the needle. But with every stitch, I stitched myself back together. The instructor, Madame Bola, was strict but kind. "If you do this well, Aisha," she said one day, "you'll never beg anyone again. Not even a man." Her words became my mantra. 3 months later, I made my first dress. It wasn't perfect, but when Amani smiled as I held it up, I felt rich, richer than Tund, richer than everyone who had mocked me. That dress was my first step toward freedom. But freedom has a way of attracting attention. One afternoon, as I packed up from class, Madame Bola called me aside. "Aisha, someone came looking for you." A young man in a fine car. My heart stopped. A fine car? No one I knew owned one. Did he say his name? I asked. She frowned. Yes. He said his name was Tund. Why was Tund looking for me again? What could he possibly want this time? After abandoning me twice. Tund. I could barely whisper the name. My hands went cold, and the measuring tape slipped from my fingers. Yes, Madame Bola said, adjusting her glasses. He said he's an old friend. I told him you just left for the day. He gave me this. She handed me a folded note. My heart pounded as I opened it. "Meet me tomorrow at the cafe opposite the new mall in Yaba. We need to talk." Tund. I stared at the paper until my eyes blurred. What could he possibly want now? After humiliating me in public, after denying his own child, after throwing money at me like I was dirt. Why now? All night I couldn't sleep. I sat by Amani's cradle, watching her tiny chest rise and fall, wondering if meeting him was a mistake. Mama Esther, ever the wise one, noticed my restlessness. "What's troubling you again?" she asked, sitting beside me on the floor. "It's Tund," I said quietly. "He sent for me." Her expression darkened. "That devil? Aisha, don't go. I just want to hear what he has to say," I whispered. "Maybe it's about Amani. Maybe he's finally ready to take responsibility." She looked at me for a long moment and sighed. "Fine. But whatever he says, don't let him break your spirit again." The next day, I dressed simply. Clean jeans, a yellow blouse I'd sewn myself, and my hair tied neatly in a scarf. My palms were sweating as I walked into the small cafe near the mall. Lagos was loud and fast outside, but inside, everything felt too quiet. Then I saw him. Tund. He looked different, richer. He wore a crisp white shirt, gold wristwatch, an expensive perfume that filled the air around him. When he saw me, his lips curled into a faint smile. "Aisha, you actually came." I didn't sit right away. "What do you want, Tund?" He gestured to the chair opposite him. "Please, sit." I hesitated, then sat, keeping my back straight. He looked me over, the same way he used to, but now it only made me sick. "You've changed," he said finally. "You look stronger. I heard you're learning tailoring." "Who told you that?" I asked sharply. He chuckled. "Lagos is small. Word travels. I'm glad you're doing something with yourself." I crossed my arms. "You didn't call me here to congratulate me." He leaned in, voice low. "You're right. I called you because I need your help." I blinked. "My help?" He nodded, glancing around nervously. "Look, things are complicated. My fiancée, she found out about you. About the baby." My stomach twisted. "What?" "She's threatening to call off the wedding," he said quickly. "Aisha, please. I need you to say the child isn't mine." I stared at him, speechless. "You want me to lie? To erase my daughter's existence? Just so you can marry some other woman?" "Aisha, please," he said, lowering his voice. "You don't understand. Her father is a big man in Abuja. If this wedding doesn't happen, my business will collapse. Just deny it publicly, and I'll take care of you. I'll give you money, a shop, whatever you want." I laughed bitterly. "You think you can buy my dignity again?" Tund leaned closer. "It's not about dignity, it's survival. We both need this." "No, Tund," I said, my voice trembling. "You need this. You abandoned me when I needed you most. You call me a disgrace in front of everyone. And now, you want me to lie to protect your image." His jaw tightened. "Don't act holy, Aisha. You're just a market girl. Nobody will believe you anyway." Those words hit me like fire. I stood up, fists clenched, trembling with rage. "You're wrong. Maybe I'm market girl now, but one day, you'll remember this moment, and you'll wish you'd never spoken those words." He laughed. "We'll see about that." As I turned to leave, he he called out. Don't forget, Aisha, Lagos doesn't remember people like you. You'll fade away. But he was wrong. I wasn't going to fade. I was going to rise. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about his words. All his arrogance, his lies, his entitlement. It made me sick. But deep down, it also lit something inside me. I realized that day that no one was coming to save me. Not my parents, not Tund, not fate. If I wanted a better life for Amani, I'd have to build it myself, from scratch. So I doubled down on my training. I stayed up late after classes, perfecting my stitches by candlelight. I watched YouTube videos on fashion design using Mama Esther's old phone. I saved every kobo I earned for part-time jobs. Slowly, customers began to notice my work. One woman even recommended me for a small wedding order. 3 bridesmaids' dresses. It wasn't much, but when I delivered them on time, her joy made me cry. Then something unexpected happened. Madame Bola called me in her office. Aisha, she said, smiling. A local women's foundation is offering small grants to young mothers who are trying to rebuild their lives. I submitted your name. I blinked in shock. You did what? She nodded. You deserve it. You have passion. And they're looking for stories like yours, stories of strength. A week later, I sat in front of a panel of judges, trembling. They asked me questions about my journey, my dreams, my plans. When I finished speaking, one of them, a tall woman with gray braids, smiled gently. You have something special, Aisha, she said. You remind me of myself. When they announced my name as one of the grant winners, I couldn't stop crying. I had just received 500,000 Nigerian nairas to start my own tailoring shop. That evening, as I hugged Mama Esther and showed her the check, she shouted, I told you. Got no day's sleep. But as we celebrated, my phone buzzed with a message. It was from Tund. Congratulations, Aisha. I see you made the news. Just remember, I can still ruin you if I want. My joy froze. What did Tund mean by ruin you? What secret was he hiding that could destroy everything Aisha had worked for? The message from Tund burned on my phone screen like a curse. I could still ruin you if I want. For a few seconds, I couldn't breathe. Mama Esther noticed the color drain from my face. Aisha, what is it? I hesitated, then showed her the text. She frowned, shaking her head slowly. That boy again? I warned you, my daughter. Men like him don't stop until they see your tears. I swallowed hard. But what does he mean? Ruin me how? She sighed. Who knows? But one thing I know for sure. Fear gives wicked people power. Don't let him see you're scared. Easier said than done. That night, I barely slept. I kept staring at my daughter's small face, her tiny hand curled around my finger. He can't touch us, I whispered to myself. Not again. Days passed, and I tried to focus on my new shop. It was small, just a narrow space on a busy street in Yaba, but it was mine. A signboard above the door read, Amani Creations. Every time I saw that name, I smiled. My baby's name. My reason. Business started slow, but word spread fast. Brides, office workers, even university girls started coming to me for dresses. I'd work late into the night, humming old Aisha songs, stitching hope into every fabric. For the first time, I was proud of myself. Until one morning, a woman stormed into my shop, her eyes blazing. Are you Aisha Bello? She shouted. Yes, Ma. Good morning. How may I? Before I could finish, she threw a newspaper onto my cutting table. Explain this. I froze. There, on the front page of the Lagos Metro Buzz, was a bold headline. Teen mother scam. Tailor accused of trapping prominent businessman with fake pregnancy. My hands shook as I picked up the paper. The article claimed that I'd faked my pregnancy to extort money from a well-known entrepreneur who was now facing public embarrassment due to her lies. And right there, his name, Tund Adewale. My heart stopped. It was him. He'd done this. Mama Esther. I cried, clutching the paper. She came rushing from the back room. When she saw the headline, her jaw dropped. That wicked boy. He's playing dirty now. The woman who had confronted me crossed her arms. So it's true, In? I saw you on TV last week talking about hard work and motherhood. I even admired you. But see you now? Just another liar. Tears fill my eyes. Please, Ma, it's not true. I swear. She hissed. Save it for someone who cares. She turned and stormed out. I sank to the floor, shaking. The shop felt smaller, darker. Within hours, the phone call started. Clients canceled their orders. Sponsors withdrew their support. Even my landlady stopped answering my greetings. By evening, I was trending on social media for all the wrong reasons. Hashtag fake mother. Hashtag Lego scam queen. Hashtag ton the victim. For 2 days, I couldn't step outside. Mama Esther tried to comfort me, but I could see the worry in her eyes. Aisha, if we don't act fast, this boy will destroy your name. But how? I whispered. He's rich. He knows people. I'm just me. She took my hand. Then we'll find someone who can help you fight back. The next morning, I went to see Lawyer Cunnell, one of her old church members who sometimes helped women in trouble. His office was small but neat, filled with dusty law books and the smell of old files. He adjusted his glasses as he read the article. Defamation of character. This is serious. But before we act, tell me everything. So I did. I told him about Tund, how he denied me, abandoned me, and now was trying to erase my child. When I finished, the lawyer sighed deeply. This man thinks you're powerless because you're a woman with no connections. But if you still have proof he's the father, we can fight back. My mind raced. Proof? You mean anything that links him to the child? Photos, texts, even voice messages. I frowned. I deleted most of them long ago. He leaned forward. Aisha, think carefully. There must be something. And then I remembered the day I went into labor. Tund had called. I hadn't picked up, but the voicemail was still there on an old SIM card. He'd said, "I'm sorry, Aisha. I don't know what to do. Please don't tell anyone yet." It wasn't much, but it was enough. When I played the message for Lawyer Cunnell, he smiled faintly. Perfect. We'll use this. He drafted a legal warning, threatening to sue Tund for defamation and emotional damage. But as we prepared to file it, something shocking happened. Tund showed up at my shop again. He came in wearing a designer suit, his cologne strong enough to fill the room. "You think you're smart, Aisha?" he sneered. "Sending lawyers after me? Stay away from me," I said firmly, though my voice trembled. He stepped closer. "You think you can fight me with your cheap lawyer? I warned you. I can ruin you. And now I will, because you crossed me." I glared at him. "You already ruined me once, Tund. There's nothing left to destroy." He smiled coldly. "Oh, you're wrong. I haven't even started." Then he dropped a brown envelope on my sewing table and turned to leave. "Open it," he said, "and you'll understand what real ruin looks like." When he left, my hand shook as I tore the envelope open. Inside were printed photos, dozens of them, showing me and Amani outside Mama Esther's stall, at my shop, even walking home at night. He'd hired someone to follow me. At the bottom was a note. "If you don't withdraw the lawsuit, I'll leak everything, including your daughter's school address. Choose wisely." My knees gave way. I sank to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. Mama Esther ran in. "Aisha, what happened?" I showed her the photos, the note. She pressed her hand over her mouth. This boy is possessed. He's threatening your child now." I nodded, tears streaming down my face. "I can't let him hurt her, Mama. I can't." She knelt beside me, gripping my shoulders. "Then we'll fight smart. We'll gather evidence. We'll expose him for who he truly is, but not his way. God will give us wisdom." And right then, I made a silent vow. If Tund wanted a war, I would give him one, but on my own terms. How far would Aisha go to protect her daughter and her name? And what shocking truth would she uncover when she begins digging into Tund's life? The next morning, I woke up with swollen eyes and a burning heart. I stared at the photos spread across the floor, my life printed in shadows. All night, I'd ask myself one question. How do you fight a man who hides behind money and lies? Mama Esther sat beside me, her wrapper loosely tied. "Aisha," she said softly, "sometimes the person who digs a grave for you ends up falling inside first. We'll gather truth, not noise." Her words gave me strength. I put all the photos back into the envelope, locked in my drawer, and said, "No more tears. If Tund wants to play with lies, I'll fight him with truth." My first stop was the law office. Lawyer Cunnell listened carefully, his face tight with concern. "He's threatening your child now. That's criminal intimidation," he said. "But before we act, We need proof of his motive. There must be something he's hiding, something bigger than pride. I frowned. His upcoming marriage. That's all he cares about. Then that's where we look, he said. Find out who this fiancée really is. I nodded slowly. I'll find her. Later that week, I visited the same cafe where Tund had met me before. He had left a trace there. Waiters, gossip, noise. Lagos cafe attendants see everything. I slipped a 1,000 Nigerian nairas note to the young waitress who'd served us last time. Sis, please, do you remember the man I met here 2 weeks ago? Fine boy, gold wristwatch. Her eyes lit up. Oh, that one? He comes here often with one fine woman. She drives one red Range Rover. Not big girl. Do you know her name? She thought for a moment. Yes, Madame Ifedeo. Her friends call her Ife Adewale. My stomach turned. Adewale. The same surname as Tund. Wait, I said, they're related? The girl laughed. They say she's his cousin, but abeg, no cousin sits like that with a man. They behave like couple. Oh. I felt dizzy. Cousin? Or something darker. That night, I searched social media using Mama Esther's old phone. I typed Ifedeo Adewale. The page popped up instantly. A glamorous influencer with over 100,000 followers. Pictures of designer bags, luxury vacations, charity galas. And there, in one photo, was Tund beside her, his arm around her waist. The caption read, "Can't wait to marry my soulmate and best friend. Hashtag forever Adewale, hashtag blessed couple." My jaw dropped. Soulmate? Best friend? He was marrying his own cousin? I scrolled further, and then I saw it. A photo of a little boy. Caption, "Family brunch with our nephew, Femi. He's the joy of our home." But the boy looked nothing like either of them. He looked like Amani. Same brown eyes. Same dimple on the left cheek. My heart raced. Could it be? I zoomed in and noticed something small, but sharp. Behind the child's ear was a faint birthmark shaped like a crescent moon. Amani had the exact same mark. I dropped the phone, shaking. "Oh my God," I whispered. "That's not their nephew. That's my daughter's twin brother." I ran to Mama Esther, my voice trembling. "Mama, something's wrong. When I gave birth, they told me it was one baby. But look, this child looks exactly like Amani." She looked closely at the photo and gasped. You're right. Aisha, could they have—" The air left my lungs. "Could they have taken one of my babies?" Memories flooded back. How chaotic my delivery was, the rush, the nurse whispering, "Push, push," and then everything going dark. When I woke, they said it was just one child. I never questioned it. I was 17, alone, and weak. Tears blur my eyes. "Mama, what if Tund's family stole my baby?" She held me tightly. "Then we will bring that secret into light." The next day, I returned to Lawyer Cunnell with the photo. He studied it quietly. "If this is true, Aisha, this is not just defamation. This is abduction. But we need proof from the hospital records." My hands trembled. I delivered at St. Blessing Maternity Home in Surulere. The nurse's name was Grace. He nodded. "Good. Find her. If she's still there, she may remember something." St. Blessing was a small clinic, its paint peeling and the reception filled with the smell of antiseptic. When I asked for Nurse Grace, a younger nurse replied, "She left years ago, but she comes to visit sometimes. You can check on Sundays after service." I left my number with her and prayed. Days turned into a week. I worked in the shop by day, rocked Amani by night, and lived in fear and hope at once. Then one Sunday afternoon, my phone rang. "Hello, please, is this Aisha Bello?" "Yes. This is Grace, formerly Nurse Grace from St. Blessing. The receptionist gave me your number. You said you wanted to ask about your delivery?" My pulse quickened. "Yes, please. Do you remember me?" 17. Emergency birth about 4 years ago. There was a long silence. Then she whispered, "Aisha, yes, I remember you. In fact, I've been waiting for this day." My knees went weak. "Waiting for what?" She sighed heavily. "I can't speak on the phone. Too risky. Meet me tomorrow evening by the old pharmacy near the bus stop. Come alone." I hung up, trembling. What did she possibly mean? Why too risky? That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing her voice in my head. I've been waiting for this day. I stared at Amani, sleeping peacefully beside me, and whispered, "If there's another child out there, if they took my baby, I'll find the truth, no matter what it costs. What secret will Nurse Grace reveal at their meeting? Did Tun's family steal one of Aisha's babies, and why? I barely slept that night. Every sound from outside, the barking dogs, the distant horns from Ojalegba, felt like a warning. By 6 p.m. the next evening, I was already standing at the old pharmacy near the bus stop. The sky had turned copper, heavy with dust and secrets. Then I saw her, Nurse Grace. Older now, heavier, but her eyes were still sharp, cautious. She glanced around before speaking. Aisha, let's walk. Not here. We crossed to a quiet side street. My palms were sweating. Tell me, I said, what really happened the night I gave birth. Grace took a deep breath. That night was chaos, she said. You were brought in bleeding badly. You delivered twins, a girl and a boy. But while you were unconscious, a woman and a man came in. They said they were your relatives. They gave the matron an envelope full of cash. My throat tightened. What did they do? They told the matron one baby didn't survive, the boy. They took the boy away immediately. When you woke, we were told to say you had only one baby. I wanted to tell you, but the matron warned me, said those people were dangerous, influential. I felt my knees weaken. My son, my baby boy, who were they? I asked, my voice shaking. She swallowed. The woman called herself Madame Adewale. I later realized she was your baby's father's mother. My world stopped. Tun's mother. Grace looked at me with guilt in her eyes. I kept the birth record. I couldn't live with the lie. Here. She handed me a faded brown envelope. That's your proof. Keep it safe. I opened it with trembling hands. 2 names written in faded ink. Baby A, female. Baby B, male. And the attending signature, Grace Olanrawaju. My tears fell onto the paper. So I wasn't crazy. They stole my baby to cover their shame. I looked up at Grace. Why would they do that? She sighed. They said they couldn't let their son marry a girl from a poor background who had twins. It would ruin their reputation. So they took the boy and planned to raise him as a relative's child. My heart boiled. They took my son to protect their reputation. Grace nodded. I'm sorry, Aisha. I should have spoken earlier. I shook my head, wiping my tears. No, you've done enough by telling me now. She placed her hand gently on mine. Use this truth wisely, not with anger. You deserve justice, but don't lose yourself chasing revenge. I managed a weak smile. Grace, I won't lose myself, but I'll make them see the... That night, I sat in my small room, the record clutched to my chest. I looked at Amani's innocent face and whispered, You have a brother, my love, and we'll bring him home. Then I took out a notebook and wrote on the first page, Daughter they threw away, rise higher than all of them. Confirm the boy's identity. Gather evidence, photos, DNA, documents. Expose Tund and his family publicly. Secure my future before the storm breaks. For the first time in years, I felt power surge through my veins. The next day, I returned to Lawyer Cunnell's office. I placed the birth record on his desk. He read it twice, then looked up slowly. Aisha, this is explosive. If this gets out, it could destroy the entire Adewale family's image. I nodded. That's exactly the point. He leaned back. But we need to be careful. They'll fight dirty, legally, and socially. Do you have a stable source of income? Not yet, I said. But I'm good at fashion. I can sew, I can design. He smiled faintly. Then start now. Build something small but solid. When the time comes, you'll need your own power, financial independence. That's your shield. His words stayed with me. That same evening, I sold my phone to buy a second-hand sewing machine. Mama Esther helped me set it up beside her vegetable stand. We named the tiny space Amani Designs. At first, customers came slowly, just neighbors who wanted simple repairs. But I worked late into the night, stitching pain into beauty. My fingers bled, but I smiled through every prick. People started talking. Go to that young tailor by the junction. She's fast and neat. Soon, I was making Ankara gowns for Sunday service, lace blouses for weddings, even office wear for market women's daughters. Each naira I earned, I saved. Each stitch I prayed, not just for success, but for justice. One afternoon, as I packed up for the day, I noticed a familiar black SUV pull up near the market. Tund stepped out, immaculate in a white kaftan, gold watch glinting in the sun. My heart stopped. He hadn't seen me yet, but beside him was the boy, my son. He held the child's hand protectively, laughing, unaware that the woman watching them from across the street was his true mother. I wanted to run to him, hold him, scream his name, but I froze. I knew one wrong move could ruin everything. Instead, I took a quiet picture on Mama Esther's phone and whispered, "Soon, my son, soon." That night, I showed the photo to Lawyer Cunnell. "We have visual confirmation," I said. He nodded. "Next step, a DNA test. But you must get something from the boy discreetly. A strand of hair, maybe." My stomach twisted. "How do I do that?" He smiled softly. "You're a mother. You'll find a way." I lay awake that night, the Lagos night humming with distant generators. I touched Amani's small hand and whispered, "Your brother will come home. And your father will learn what it means to lose everything he thought he owned." Then I looked at the birth record once more and said aloud, "This was their secret, but now it will be their downfall." How will Aisha get close enough to collect her son's DNA? Will she expose Tund, or use her new strength to build her empire first? If you believe no lie can hide forever, hit like and share this story. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for more gripping African stories like this. What do you think Aisha should do next? Revenge or rebuild? Comment below. When I woke up that morning, something inside me had shifted. For years, I had lived as the girl everyone pitied, the rejected single mother, the one Tund's family mocked. But that day, I looked into the mirror and saw someone else staring back, a woman who had learned to bleed quietly and rise gracefully. I tied my Ankara headscarf tighter and whispered, "Let's begin." It started with a rumor. A popular society woman named Mrs. Adewale, Tund's mother, was planning her son's engagement ceremony. She had ordered new traditional outfits for the entire family and wanted custom tailoring from a trusted, discreet local designer. When I heard it, my chest tightened. Could this be my way in? I asked around and found that her house manager was a regular at the market. So I waited, patient as a hunter. One sunny afternoon, I saw her at Mama Esther's stall, bargaining over tomatoes. I smiled warmly and said, "Madam, I love your Gelly style. I'm a tailor. I make high-quality lace outfits, fast delivery." She looked me up and down, unimpressed at first. But when I showed her my recent designs, neatly folded photos of my clients' dresses, her eyes softened. She said, "Madame Adewale is looking for someone like you, oh?" Her former tailor spoiled her last lace. My heart skipped. I handed her my card. "Please tell her Amani Designs will handle it perfectly. First fitting free." She smiled. "I'll give her your number." That night, I barely slept. I kept checking my phone, praying it would ring. And just after sunrise the next day, it did. "Good morning. This is Madame Adewale's assistant. She'd like to see you for a consultation tomorrow at 11 a.m. I froze. "Where?" "Lekki Phase 1. I'll text you the address." I whispered, "Thank you." When I hung up, my knees gave way. Mama Esther caught me before I fell. "Child, what happened?" "Mama," I said, trembling, "I'm going inside their house." The Adewale mansion looked like something out of a movie. White marble walls, gold gates, flower driveways. It was the same house I used to see only from a distance, holding a crying baby while Tund walked past me like a stranger. Now I was walking through its gates, head held high, tape measure around my neck. The housekeeper led me to the living room. Everything glittered, chandelier light bouncing off polished floors, expensive portraits of the Adewale family on the walls. Then she entered, Tund's mother, older now but just as regal and cold. "You're the new tailor?" she asked. "Yes, ma," I said, lowering my gaze. She didn't recognize me. My headscarf, weight loss, and modest posture had disguised me well. She handed me rolls of fabric. "We're preparing for my son's engagement. The bride is a classy woman, Ifedeo. We want nothing less than perfection." The name Ifedeo hit my stomach like a punch. I smiled politely. "Yes, ma, I'll do my best." As I took measurements, I glanced around. On a side table sat a small photo frame, Tund and the little boy laughing on a boat. The child's name was engraved beneath it, Toby Adewale. Toby, the name I had chosen for my unborn son before Tund abandoned me. I felt tears burn my throat, but I swallowed them down. When she wasn't looking, I gently plucked a small strand of hair from the back of the couch cushion where Toby had sat in the photo. I slid it quietly into a tiny plastic bag inside my purse. Step 1, complete. Just as I was packing up to leave, I heard footsteps behind me. Aisha. I froze. That voice. I turned slowly, and there he was. Tund. He looked shocked, then confused, then angry. "What are you doing here?" he hissed. I smiled faintly. "Working, sir. Your mother hired me." He stepped closer. "You think this is funny? You come into my house after everything you did." I held his gaze. "After everything you did, Tund, this is called grace. I'm not here for drama. I'm here for business." His jaw clenched. "Leave immediately after this job. Don't ever come near my family again." I nodded politely. "Of course, sir." But inside I was laughing. If only he knew what I carried in my purse. The truth that could destroy him. The next morning, I met Lawyer Cunnell in his office. I handed him the small plastic bag. "It's from their house. The boy's hair." He nodded. "Good. I'll send it for testing against Amani's sample." The days that followed were endless. Every ring of my phone made my heart leap. When a call finally came, I could barely hold the phone still. "Aisha," Cunnell said, "the result is ready." I whispered, "Tell me." He paused, then said softly, "It's a 99.9% match. The boy is your biological son." I dropped the phone, covered my mouth. My whole body shook with tears. My son was alive. He had been living under the roof of the man who destroyed me, raised as a trophy in the house built on my pain. But no more. That night, I sat by the window, watching the city lights flicker like tiny flames. I thought of all the nights I'd cried, all the humiliation, all the gossip. And now, I had proof. I looked at Amani, sleeping peacefully, and whispered. They thought they buried me, but I was a seed. I took out my notebook again and wrote. Cunnell suggested we take it slow, build leverage. Once you go public, he warned, there's no going back. But if you play smart, you can make them pay in every way, legally, socially, and financially. I smiled through tears. I'm ready. Weeks passed. My business grew. Influencers started wearing my designs. Ironically, one of my biggest orders came from Ifedeo herself, Tund's fiancée. She wanted matching outfits for her engagement shoot. When her assistant called to confirm the booking, I nearly laughed. Life had come full circle. The same people who mocked the market girl now wanted her touch to make them beautiful. I took the job, not out of pride, but strategy. Every stitch would bring me closer to justice. The day of the engagement photo shoot, I arrived at the mansion with my garments neatly pressed and packed. But when I stepped into the house, something fell off, whispers, tension, and hurried footsteps. Then I heard it, a loud cry from the hallway, a child's voice. "Mummy, where's Auntie Aisha? I want her." And before anyone could stop him, Toby ran out of a room and threw his tiny arms around my leg. "Don't go," he said softly. "You feel like my real mummy." My heart stopped. Tund and his mother stood frozen, eyes wide with fear. How will Aisha handle this moment of truth? Will she reveal everything now, or save her revenge for the engagement day? If you believe every secret eventually comes to light, hit like right now. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for more powerful African family dramas. What do you think Aisha should do next? Expose them or stay silent for now? Comment below. "Toby, come here," Tund barked, his voice trembling. The little boy froze, but didn't let go of me. His small fingers tightened around my dress. "Tund," I said softly, "he's just a child." His mother stepped forward, eyes blazing. "What are you doing to my grandson? You shameless girl. You came here to cast a spell." The word grandson hit me like a curse. I swallowed hard, forcing my voice to stay calm. "Madam, I'm here for work, nothing more." She hissed. "Lies. You think we don't know who you are? I warned Tund about your kind long ago. Desperate women who trap men with children. Leave my house immediately before I call security." Toby looked up at her, confused. Grandma, don't shout. Auntie Aisha didn't do anything. Her hand trembled as she pointed at me. Get out. I gently pried Toby's fingers from my leg, knelt, and looked into his eyes. It's okay, sweetheart. We'll see again soon. He frowned. Promise. I smiled weakly. Promise. Then I left. Not because I was scared, but because if I stayed, I might have screamed the truth. That night, I couldn't stop hearing his voice. You feel like my real mummy. I sat on the floor beside Amani's bed, staring at the faint birthmark behind her ear. The same mark Toby had. 2 children, born together, torn apart. Mama Esther came into the room quietly and placed a cup of tea beside me. You saw him, didn't you? I nodded. He hugged me, Mama. He knew. Somehow he knew. She sat beside me, her eyes watery. Blood calls to blood. You can't hide that. I pressed my palms together. I have the proof. I can expose them now, destroy everything. Mama sighed deeply. Aisha, I know you're angry. But remember, revenge is loud. Justice is patient. If you speak too soon, they'll twist the story against you. Use your victory wisely. I turned to her, tears streaming. Mama, how can I be patient when my own child calls another woman mummy? Her voice trembled. Because when the truth comes out, it must stand tall, not burn out like fire. Let it cut like a sword, not explode like gunpowder. The next morning, I went to Lawyer Cunnell's office again. He was sitting at his desk, reading the DNA report. Aisha, he said gently, I heard about what happened. You did well not to react there. I clenched my fists. She called me desperate. Tund called me a liar. And my son doesn't even know who I am. How long do I have to wait? He leaned forward. Until you're untouchable. We're almost there. I filed for legal acknowledgement of the DNA result. Once it's validated, you can claim custody or expose them publicly if they resist. I blinked. Custody? You mean I could get Toby back? He nodded. Yes, but it'll take courage and money. They'll fight back with influence, not truth. I swallowed hard. Then I'll earn more. I'll make sure they can't silence me. Over the next few weeks, I worked like a woman possessed. Orders poured in after one of my clients, a small-time actress, wore my dress on Instagram. Overnight, Amani Designs became a name in the fashion streets of Lagos. I reinvested every naira, bought better machines, rented a small shop. People began calling me Madame Amani. And for the first time, I stopped crying when I passed by the Adewale billboard. They had power, but I had something stronger, truth. The innocent connection. One rainy afternoon, I was taking measurements for a customer when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Hello. A small voice answered. Auntie Aisha? My heart stopped. Toby, he whispered. I used Mummy Ife's phone. I just wanted to say hi. Are you angry with me? Tears fill my eyes. No, my darling. Never. Grandma said you don't like us. But I like you, he said softly. When I hug you, my heart feels happy. I bit my lip hard, try not to sob. You're a very special boy, Toby. Never forget that. He giggled. Okay. Bye-bye, Aunt. When the line cut, I dropped the phone and broke down completely. I realized something then. My revenge had to be clean. Not for me. Not even for Tund. But for my children, both of them. A week later, I received a gold-embossed envelope delivered to my shop. Inside was an invitation card. Date, Saturday, 5 p.m. Venue, the Civic Center, Victoria Island. Dress code, gold and ivory. My breath caught. They had invited me, the tailor, to dress the bride and assist backstage. Mama Esther held the card and muttered, The gods have opened the door themselves. I whispered, This is it. She frowned. Aisha, promise me. No shouting, no chaos. Just truth. Let God fight your battle. I nodded, though my hands were trembling. I promise. But deep down, I knew this was no ordinary battle. This was the night everything would come full circle. The morning of the engagement, Lagos shimmered under a golden haze. I packed my designs carefully, gold lace, sequins, ivory gelly, and tucked one more thing inside my bag, the DNA report. At 5 p.m., I arrived at the Civic Center. The place glittered with wealth. TV cameras, laughter, and music filled the air. Tund stood proudly beside Ifedeo, smiling for the cameras. His mother beamed beside them, dripping in coral beads and pride. None of them saw me slip quietly through the back, arranging outfits for the bridal party. Then, halfway through the ceremony, I caught sight of Toby, sitting near the front row, his little hands folded. Our eyes met. He smiled, that pure, innocent smile, and waved slightly. Something broke inside me. This wasn't just revenge anymore. It was redemption. I reached into my bag and touched the envelope. The truth was there, waiting to speak for itself. But how I revealed it, that would decide everything. Will Aisha expose Tund and his mother in front of everyone at the engagement, or use the night to deliver a quiet but devastating justice? Lagos nights have a way of pretending. The air filled with perfume, laughter, and lies wrapped in lace. The Civic Center glittered like a dream. But I knew better. Some dreams are just traps dressed in gold. I moved quietly behind the stage, pretending to adjust the bride's gown. My fingers trembled, not from fear, but from the storm inside me. Every laugh from Tund felt like a slap. Every flash of a camera reminded me that the same man who threw me away was about to become a celebrity husband. Mama Esther's voice echoed in my head. No shouting, no chaos. Let truth speak for itself. But the truth was burning through me like fire. The Civic Center glittered like a diamond, every chandelier dripping gold light on his smiling faces. But all I saw was the man who had ruined my youth, standing at the altar, holding another woman's hand, laughing as if his sins had been buried forever. I stood among the decorators in my simple Ankara gown, pretending to be invisible. My sewing kit was strapped to my waist, but it wasn't thread or scissors I carried that night. It was proof. Proof that Tund Adewale, Lagos' golden son, had stolen my child. Proof that I, the girl he once called trash, held his entire empire in my palm. Ladies and gentlemen, the MC's voice thundered. Let's rise for the entrance of the groom and his beautiful bride. Applause filled the hall. Phones flashed. The live band played Wizkid's Essence, and guests screamed with excitement. Tund walked in wearing a white agbada, stitched with gold. His fiancée, the daughter of a senator, sparkled beside him. They looked perfect, too perfect. I watched from the side, heart pounding like the drums. My plan wasn't violence. It was truth, loud, public, undeniable. When they reached the stage, the MC smiled. Before we cut the cake, the couple has a special surprise for everyone. The lights dimmed. That was my cue. I stepped forward, microphone in hand. Excuse me, I said. My voice shook slightly, but I didn't care. Before the cutting of the cake, can we play one more video? It's important. It's about the groom. The crowd murmured. The MC hesitated. Madam, Tund's smile faltered. He knew my voice. Let it play, I said firmly, staring straight at him. The hall went silent as the projector flickered on. First, a baby's birth record filled the screen. Old, faded paper with two names. Baby A, female, and Baby B, male. Then a photo of Nurse Grace appeared, speaking softly. The boy was taken the night he was born. The mother was unconscious. The family said the second twin died, but they lied. The boy is alive. Gasps echoed across the room. Cameras turned toward Tund. He stood frozen, his smile gone. Then the screen showed a photo, him and the boy in front of his SUV. The resemblance was undeniable. The whispers became outrage. Is that his child? Wait, she said twins. My God, this man stole her baby. I took a slow breath and faced the crowd. My name is Aisha Musa. 17 years ago, this man made me pregnant, denied me, and allowed his family to steal one of my twins to protect their reputation. While I struggled to feed my daughter, he built his empire on lies. Tund stepped forward, pale and sweating. Aisha, stop this madness. You're ruining. I'm not ruining anything. I cut in, voice steady now. I'm revealing the truth. The hall erupted. Phones recorded everything. The senator's daughter yanked her hand from Tund's arm and shouted, You told me she was a liar. You said her child died. Tund tried to grab the mic, but two security men blocked him. Don't touch her, sir, one said. The organizers are recording. I turned to the screen again. The DNA result filled it. Bold and final. Father, Tund Adewale, 99.9% match. The crowd gasped louder. The band stopped playing. Even the air felt heavy. I looked him straight in the eye. You took my son, Tund. You made me feel like dirt. But God saw everything. And tonight the world does too. He fell to his knees, muttering, "Please, Aisha." "Not here. Let's talk outside." But it was too late. The bride's family was already walking out. Journalists surrounded the stage. And I, the girl who once sold sachet water in Mushin, was standing tall under golden light, tears rolling down my face, no longer from pain but relief. I didn't stay to watch his empire crumble. By the time security escorted me out, people were already calling it the wedding scandal of the year. Mama Esther was waiting outside in a kiki. She hugged me tightly. "You did it, my daughter. You faced them without losing your soul." I nodded, shaking. "It's over, Mama. I just want my son back." She smiled softly. "And you will. The law is on your side now. But remember, justice isn't revenge. It's freedom." I looked out the window as the Civic Center lights faded behind us. For the first time in 17 years, I could breathe. The next morning, while packing my things for court, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. "Mama." The voice was small, soft, a boy's voice. My knees went weak. "Who is this?" I saw you on TV," the boy whispered. "They said, you're my mother. Is it true?" My heart cracked open. "Yes, my son. It's true." He sniffled. "Daddy's crying. Grandma's angry. I don't understand." I swallowed hard. "It's okay, baby. You don't have to understand now. Just know Mama's here, and I love you." Silence. Then, "I want to see you." I pressed the phone on my chest, tears soaking my blouse. For the first time, hope didn't feel like a dream. It felt real. But deep down, I knew it wasn't over yet. Tund wouldn't let me walk away with both children and his reputation destroyed. And I wasn't ready to stop fighting. Not until my children's future was safe. Will Tund seek revenge or redemption? Will Aisha finally reclaim her children and her peace? Or will another secret threaten everything she's built? If you believe truth always wins, no matter how long it takes, hit like and share this story. Don't forget to subscribe to Tales by AYO and turn on notifications for more powerful African dramas like this. What do you think Tund will do next? Comment below. 3 months after the scandal, Lagos felt different. Or maybe I was the one who had changed. Everywhere I went, people whispered my name. Some called me the woman who exposed the Adewales. Others called me the brave mother. But in my heart, I was still just Aisha, the girl who once sewed dresses under a leaking roof and prayed for justice. The family court was packed that morning. Cameras flashed outside as I walked in with Lawyer Cunnell by my side. My daughter, Amani, held my hand tightly. Tund sat at the defendant's table, head bowed. His once perfect Igbada was replaced with a plain suit, and the arrogance that used to radiate from him was gone. When the judge entered, the room went silent. The hearing was quick. The DNA results, hospital record, and Nurse Grace's sworn statement were undeniable. When the judge finally spoke, her voice echoed like thunder. In the matter of Aisha Musa versus Tund Adewale, this court hereby grants full custody of both minors to the plaintiff. Furthermore, compensation is ordered for emotional, financial, and social damages inflicted upon her. My knees nearly gave out. Mama Esther squeezed my shoulder, whispering, "God Don win case." Tund looked at me, broken, tears in his eyes. "Aisha, I'm sorry." For a moment, I saw not the monster who ruined my youth, but a man destroyed by his own lies. I took a deep breath. "I forgive you, Tund, but forgiveness doesn't erase justice. Go and rebuild your life the right way." He lowered his gaze. For the first time, he had nothing to say. The day I brought my son home, the entire neighborhood gathered. Mama Esther danced, waving her wrapper in the air. Children clapped and sang. Mama Amani Don, Finder Pekin, oh, my boy, Tolu, stood shyly beside me, holding his sister's hand. That night, as they slept side by side, I whispered, "You were both born in pain, but you'll live in peace." That's my promise. The next morning, I returned to Amani Designs. But things had changed. Customers lined up down the street. My little shop had become famous overnight. Social media called me the tailor of triumph. Influencers wore my dresses. A local bank offered to sponsor my brand. Within a year, Amani Designs expanded into a boutique, then a showroom, then a factory. I wasn't just sewing clothes anymore. I was stitching dignity one hem at a time. When I visited my village for the first time in 17 years, the dusty roads seemed smaller, but the people's eyes were wide with disbelief. The same women who once mocked me now knelt to greet me. Aisha, is it really you? Huh? The girl who gave birth at 17? You're the one they show on TV. I smiled gently. Yes, the same girl. But God rewrote my story. I donated sewing machines to the village girls and started a foundation for single mothers. We called it the Second Chance Project. One of the girls asked shyly, Auntie Aisha, how did you survive when everyone turned against you? I smiled, touching her shoulder. My dear, people will reject you to hide their shame. But if you hold on to your truth, that same truth will become your crown. A few weeks later, I received an unexpected visitor at my boutique, Tun's mother, Madame Adewale. She walked in slowly, wearing dark glasses. The air shifted. Even my workers stopped sewing. I dismissed them and faced her alone. She spoke first. You destroyed my family's name. I met her gaze. No, Ma. You destroyed it the day you stole my child. Her lips trembled. I was protecting my son. I thought I was doing the right thing. By stealing a newborn? I asked softly. You could have helped me. Instead, you buried me in shame. But I rose anyway. Tears gathered in her eyes. You are a stronger woman than I ever was. I came to say, I'm sorry. For a long moment, we both stood in silence. Then I nodded. I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because my peace deserves it. She bowed slightly and left. That was the last time I ever saw her. 2 years later, Amani Designs launched its first international collection. Journalists came from all over Africa to cover it. The theme was rebirth. As I walked down the runway, holding Amani in Tolu's hands, the crowd rose to their feet. Mama Esther sat in the front row, crying openly. When the applause ended, I stepped to the microphone and said, to every woman who has been rejected, betrayed, or mocked, remember, rejection is not the end of your story. Sometimes, it's the beginning of your rise. The hall erupted in cheers. Cameras flashed. My children hugged me tightly. I had become what no one believed I could be, the first millionaire in my village. But beyond the money, beyond the fame, I had become whole. Some nights, I still sit by my window, watching the city lights dance on the lagoon. I see my reflection and smile, not because life became easy, but because I became strong enough to live it on my terms. And sometimes, I whisper a prayer for the 17-year-old girl I once was. The girl who was mocked, abandoned, and broken. She didn't die that night. She just transformed into me. If this story touched your heart, hit the like button and share it with someone who needs hope today. Don't forget to subscribe to Tales by AYO and turn on notifications for more emotional African stories of resilience, betrayal, and redemption. Speech Balloon, what lesson did you take from Aisha's journey? Comment below. Your story might inspire someone too.